All right, happy day, whatever day you're watching this. This is kind of an interesting season of life. I think if you have a calling or a challenge, what happens is sometimes you get distracted or there's different priorities that shift. I had a calling specifically to do something that was very uncomfortable, and that's what Exponential Purpose is really all about. Again, my background is I really didn't like video. I didn't like online. I really didn't like anything like that at all. And so what Exponential Purpose is, it's my personal little thing to myself to step me out of my comfort zone. But ultimately, it's really to unleash people to be their best version, what God really designed for them. So kind of here's what's been going on. If I could just share a little bit. Back in November, I just kind of had a calling for probably, it's close to a decade of things I'm supposed to do, but I had a calling. I went to a seminar. And since then, I've pretty much paused. And my last post is probably about 3 or 4 months ago. And what happened is I've been head down in action. I've been head down working on things that are massively outside my comfort zone. And I can't really share what they are just yet, which kind of, but what it is there's certain things, everything from a book I'm currently writing, everything from the podcasts, multiple potential podcasts that we're working on, but ultimately about 3 or 4 different online modules and platforms. And the reason why, I talked about this earlier, but I remember one time I shared my vision. Again, I have like a couple of whiteboards that are just full of stuff. My brain is full in a sense. And I was sharing it with one of my pastors, and the pastor said, Dr. Rubin, these 4 walls are limiting you. And I said, I know. And so through that calling, or that with our gifts, skills, talents, and abilities, and each and all of us have something, the ultimate calling that we all have. God has a calling for each and every one of us, and it's really to make disciples. And what it is, it's how we love on people. It's not how we judge people. It's how we love on people. And we use our platforms, and specifically our platforms are where you are today. It's where you are in life. It's that person that you're going to meet. It's that person that you're going to inspire or give hope to and love on. Because if you go anywhere on the internet, if you go anywhere online, it's just so easy because it's not a personal connection that you have with a person. It's so easy to throw a jab or a spear or some anger at someone as well. And so the calling for me specifically is to step in and step out of my comfort zone and put myself out there and just say, hey, tell you what, let's just, again, if you're not a Christian, my job isn't to judge you, it's just to love you. But if you are a Christian, or my job is to maybe say, hey, let's step up your game a little bit more. And I'm saying it to myself too, is stop judging people, start just loving people. So I went to a seminar back in February, and there was a gentleman who, I would just ask him, hey, do you believe God has a calling for all of us in life? And most people go, yes. This one individual was over at London, and I said, hey, do you believe God has a calling for all of us? And he goes, I don't really believe in all that stuff. And so the natural thing as a Christian would be to jump, to stab, to say, you better do it, otherwise you're going to hell. Just all those, just like whatever. I just stopped right there. And I said, hey, my call is just to love you where you are. And I said, I want to know more about you. And honestly, we had a good 2-hour conversation. It was really, really empowering. And just to say, hey, here's who I am. Because I wanted to make sure I just had a relationship with him. I really wanted to know authentically who he was. And just, without an agenda. So what happens is, and again, we weren't best friends by any means, but what happens is it was a good conversation versus this tension. And maybe my conversation was one step for him, but it wasn't all exactly because of what I said or I did. That puts him one step closer, or even maybe it took me out of my comfort zone. Actually, we talked about that, how he goes, hey, this conversation might be important later in life, where you said, hey, you stepped out of your comfort zone. And, based on what I believe, we had a great mutual conversation. It was step one. I think sometimes we just focus so much on so many steps later in life or whatever, is someone has to be at certain phases of their life because I got here 5 weeks ago and I've been like 20 years or 30 years of something. That's hard. So my calling to each and every one of us is, do you know where you are, and can you love someone where they are? And that's step one. Because if we're truly called to make disciples, and that's what ultimate calling is, go and make disciples. Just speaking again to the Christian folk out there as well too. And here's what I also know is, if you put your message out there, just recognize you're going to get attacked probably. That's just what happens. But what happens is when you go out and you go towards your calling and you use it through your unique platform, your skills, talents, and abilities, just realize that you might get attacked. So I want to share a little flash that I had as well. And this had to do with the NFL. And I was thinking about this. I don't really watch a lot of football. And again, if you do like football, again, I've said this before, but that's cool. That's your thing. But imagine how many people say, oh, those NFL players, they get paid so much. But here's a question I have about NFL players. Did they accidentally get there? Did they accidentally get to the point when they were a professional football player? Or did they dedicate their life, their every waking moment almost specifically to eat and breathe and sleeping football, to the point where someone gets drafted and they get picked and selected out of a group of people, and there's however many teams, but here's what happens is when you become an NFL and someone wears your jersey, someone's like, wow, I wish I was that person. You recognize that there's so many other teams, there's so many other people. There's just because you have a team or someone follows you and you have someone who really enjoys your team, they're like, wow, look at that guy. Do you realize there's the exact opposite amount of the opponents who absolutely hate you for doing something like playing sports or playing football or basketball or whatever it is, just because you're good at something. So know that whatever you step into your calling, whenever you step into that thing, or whenever you go out and you actually stand for something you believe in, you got to do the work. But at the same time, what you're calling, recognize that you might get attacked verbally, any way, shape, or form, but just stand true and strong and love people where they are, and just keep doing good, what you're good at. So again, I'm just gonna just kind of share from my heart a little bit what's going on here. But my goal is to do something very uncomfortable, which is this. Unfortunately, if I can be authentic with you and real. I know one guy, when I post a video I did however long ago, someone goes, "That's boring." Okay, that wasn't for you. That wasn't a message for you. But I'm staying true to my team, that thing that calls and pushes people out of their comfort zone to be the best version of what God called them to be. So hope you have a super, super blessed day. Take care.